Welcome to baseball season's 1988 Hollywood ending.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
As spring training 1988 began, all across the game, memories were still fresh of thrilling finishes the previous fall.
Detroit Tigers sweep the series and win the American League East. Minnesota, as you can well imagine, this crowd absolutely beside itself with joy.
And 1987 had ultimately ended with a long-awaited wild celebration in the Twin Cities.
To Guyette, for the first time ever, the Minnesota Twins are the world champions.
Now, in the spring of '88, among the teams relishing a fresh start were the Dodgers. After winning just 73 games each of the past two seasons, Tommy Lasorda's club decided they needed a spark.
We introduced a new player to the Dodger organization, Kirk Gibson.
That was exciting. As a Dodger, thinking about Kirk coming to the team, we were looking for help.
Kirk will bring a tremendous amount to our ball club. He brings power, he brings speed, he brings dedication, and he brings a tremendous competitive spirit.
Again, I'm excited to be here. They've proven to me, and I believe that they're committed to restore the winning tradition, and I think we all remember this organization for.
I think the biggest statement he made was the fact that when you're on the field, you're there to play, we're there to win. Nothing else gets in your way of that.
When I step on the field, I may offend some by some of my actions, but I want to be quite honest with you, I don't step on the field to make friends.
You guys got enough film today?
We have a tradition of winning. We've got a commitment to our fans to win. You can rest assured that every guy on that team, when we leave spring training, will believe that the Dodgers are going to finish #1.
Everybody comes into spring training saying we're going to win a world championship, but the players know you're coming in to see what you can do and accomplish.
Okay, we got it.
Pitching would also be a big part of the equation. And a big part of the Dodger rotation was six-year veteran Orel Hershiser, looking to improve on 500 records in '86 and '87.
Some of the other years, maybe we didn't have quite the defense, or maybe we didn't have quite the offense, or maybe I wasn't quite as sharp. There's a lot of components to putting together a magical season.
The New York Mets knew plenty about magical seasons, and they were hungry for another one after a frustrating second-place finish in '87.
Last year was a difficult year, with all the injuries, and you just start getting something going, and then a key player would go down, and it was tough to really get that steamroll in effect through the season.
So the curtain is closing on the New York Mets.
After '86, 87 wasn't our best season. So '88 was kind of like a rebound year for us. We felt like everything's behind us now. Let's get back to where we should have been all along, and that was our mindset going into camp.
I'm excited about this year. I really feel that guys are hungry again. It's going to be a great year.
The outlook was good. We had a fresh start after the '87 season. We had a great team.
Darryl Strawberry's greatness was growing, and after a career-high 39 home runs in '87, the sky looked to be the limit for the Straw Man.
Straw came into camp that year, wanted to be the best player in the National League, and physically he was at his peak, and then mentally I think he was at his peak.
Once I step between the white lines, it's strictly business. I'm serious about what I have to do, and I'm very dedicated to my work now, and I feel 1988 is going to be one of my stronger years I ever had in my life.
And when the Mets broke camp and headed north to Queens, the left-handed slugger backed up his lofty predictions, crushing 11 home runs in his club's first 41 games.
This ball is out of here. A home run for Darryl Strawberry.
But the pitching staff, headlined by Dwight Gooden, was still the Mets' biggest weapon. And in May of '88, David Cohn joined Doc and Company in the rotation full-time and quickly made an impression.
Having gotten a taste of the rotation the year before in '87 and then starting in the bullpen again in '88 and realizing, you know what, I can start. And and that was my goal. I wasn't going to be satisfied just being in relief for the Mets.
And he makes the pitch for the third out, and it's the first major league shutout for David Cone.
Cone won his first 7 decisions, helping the club to an ML Best 30-11 start. 2 years after the magic of '86, the mood in New York was unmistakably familiar. North of the border, reigning AL MVP George Bell picked up where he left off with an opening day milestone.
Breaking ball, left center field. Wilson gets a slow start. That ball is another one. Gone. George Bell, consecutive home runs.
George has had a monster year, won MVP in '87, and so to see him in '88, right out the box, he comes, bam, 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 on opening day.
The third one if it stays fair, and it does. This is one of the all-time opening day shows, folks.
Bell became the first player ever to hit 3 home runs on opening day and would continue to be a valuable offensive presence for Toronto all season long. While Bell was off to that historic start, the Orioles started off historically bad.
Tough start? A tough start to the season? 0-21? Yeah, that's a tough start.
And Baltimore's brutal beginning had baseball's royal family reeling early on in the '88 campaign, derailing Ripken family plans.
Well, we had some tough, heartbreaking losses in the first 6 games, and then they fired Dad. And I think that that whole firing really threw our club, for a loop.
Lynn comes over and makes the dive, but does not get it.
We were like the Bad News Bears personified. So it was a brutal, brutal experience.
Hits a drive to left, Stone coming in, and he loses it in the lights.
Frank Robinson came in to manage the team, and I joke now. I say, okay, we lost the first 6 games of the season just to prove that it wasn't Dad's fault. We lost 15 and more in a row.
We got him right here, Red Sox!
Just 2 seasons removed from a World Series appearance, the Boston Red Sox were hoping that 1988 had some residual magic.
That ball is hit deep to left field. Forget it, this one is gone, a home run.
Fenway's finest featured a familiar mix of veterans, led by the game's most productive hitter.
Boggs spins a base hit to left field.
Who was in search of a 6th consecutive 200-hit season.
Boggs gets his 4th hit.
With Boggs leading the hit parade, the '88 Sox would often turn to 24-year-old Mike Greenwell for the heavy lumber.
Home run, Mike Greenwell.
Greenwell's an interesting guy for the Red Sox. He was a hitter.
There's a drive.
He was in that lineage of Red Sox left fielders starting, Ted Williams to Yaz to Rice to Greenwell, and, a left fielder who could hit.
Yawkey Way has a new hero this year, no matter what.
On the mound, Boston was fueled by a rocket in his prime, who was coming off 2 straight Cy Young seasons.
Strike 3 finishes with a flurry.
As far as dominating and carrying a ball club, it was Roger. I thought there's nobody better, and he was really a big part.
Swing and a miss.
But even with Clemens, the Sox fell 10 games back by early June, leading to talk about a possible change in the Fenway dugout.
Here, ladies and gentlemen, your 1988 Oakland Athletics.
On paper, the Oakland A's appeared to be the best in the West, with a star-studded cast and a skipper destined for Cooperstown.
As I look at this '88 club, I know the names are great with Canseco, McGuire, Walt Weiss, and you can go on and on across the board. But really the one name that stands out to me is Tony La Russa. He changed the game of baseball in Oakland.
You walk into that situation, it was perfect. If you look at the roster, it was, all-stars.
Got your ball, Jose. He got all of that. Hit high, deep, way back. Home run, Mark McGuire.
Probably as good a push-button team as you can ever expect.
Pushing the right buttons was a La Russa trademark.
The A's win. They switch the series.
And his finger was always on the pulse of his pitching staff, led by a hometown hero nicknamed Smoke.
Fastball, he struck him out with a pleasure.
Stewart got an opportunity. Dave was a true number one. I mean, he stood up there and he wanted the ball, and the way he competed so ferociously. It was just a complete club. That part of it was a trade that was made in the spring training of '87. Just to fortify our rotation, they brought Dennis Eckersley from Chicago. You could do a whole feature on Eck's story because he was a young start in the big leagues, pitched a no-hitter, won 20 games. So we brought him in, and while we waited to see if a starter got hurt, we used him in relief. He just went in there and wiped out guys.
Strike three, and the A's win the ball game.
In 1988, Eck's our closer, and I mean, he went on to Hall of Fame career.
He struck him out, and Dennis Eckersley has saved a big one for the Oakland A's.
All season, Eckersley anchored the AL's best bullpen.
Strike three call.
Pacing the A's to the top of the standings and making them a World Series front-runner. Throughout their illustrious past, the LA Dodgers have taken pride in dominant pitching.
Drysdale fires again.
And the 1988 installment looked to take a bite out of history with their Bulldog ace.
Swing and a miss. Strike three.
As a unit, the team pitched very, very well.
Strike three called on the outside corner.
Statistically, I don't know if we were the best in the league. I know we threw a lot of shutouts.
They struck him out. The Dodgers win it 2-0.
When the team and everybody as a whole is doing important things and historic things, of course my year is going to look better because it's an accumulation of team energy and team output.
As the season went on, the Dodgers fed off their pitching prowess. And in Hollywood, the hope was that this summer blockbuster would result in a fall classic.
John McNamara has done just about everything he can do this season to get this club on track. And he has every reason to be frustrated and disappointed with his team's performance thus far.
Meanwhile, in Boston, it was a nightmare on Lansdowne Street. And in mid-July, just 2 seasons removed from a World Series appearance, skipper John McNamara took the fall. The Sox turned to Joe Morgan for a jolt. Morgan's mission was to overcome a 9-game deficit at the season's midpoint, as the Detroit Tigers were pacing the American League East. Out west, the A's had bashed their way to 20 games over 500, 5.5 games ahead of Minnesota. And in the National League, the Mets were 3.5 ahead of Pittsburgh, while the Dodgers were the best in the West, 2.5 ahead of San Francisco at the All-Star break. On July 12th, the game's elite gathered in Cincinnati for the 59th Midsummer Classic. The Oakland A's boasted 5 All-Stars, including their unsung catcher, who would soon take center stage.
Batting 8th, the only Oakland catcher to be elected by fans to start in an All-Star game, number 36, Terry Steinbach.
There's a drive into right field that backs Strawberry all the way back, and it's out of his glove and over the wall for a home run. Terry Steinbach, the All-Star, who a lot of people said should not be here.
Steinbach's homer off NL starter Doc Gooden opened the scoring, and 1 inning later he pushed across the game's decisive run with the bases loaded.
Winfield scores easily to make it 2-0, and Steinbach comes within about 8 feet of hitting a grand slam homer.
In the 9th, Steinbach's teammate Dennis Eckersley came in to seal the victory.
And that'll be it. The American League wins it by a score of 2-1.
A lot of people said, why is Terry Steinbach the starting catcher, that this voting situation is out of hand? You kind of quieted those critics.
Just the highlight of my career. That I had the home run, had a sac fly, and won the MVP.
8/8/88. That's the date. The first night baseball game ever played at Wrigley Field.
Well, it's going to be history. So, I'm just glad to be part of it.
On August 8th, a long-awaited power surge hit Chicago's north side. Wrigley Field was now open for business under bright lights.
Look at the lights flickering all over Wrigley Field. And here we go.
With the brand new bulbs blaring, Wrigley Night Baseball was born.
It's gone. It's out of here.
Until Mother Nature put a damper on the electric vibe.
And it's really coming down now.
The first night game is not the first night game. This game has been called off because about 2.5 hours it's still raining.
As the second half of the 1988 season began, the Tigers occupied the top spot in the AL East.
We don't know where we'll finish when we started, but the one thing we do care about is how we go about this.
Leading the second half charge in Detroit was Jack Morris.
Changed up and struck him out. Terrific job done by Jack Morris.
Meanwhile, in Milwaukee, the Brewers were looking to stay in the hunt, with Robin Yount celebrating new career milestones along the way.
And Yount gets a standing ovation for that accomplishment.
And in the Bronx, the Bomber lineup was the Yankees' biggest strength.
Mattingly's 15th home run of the year.
This thing isn't going to be won here in July. It's not going to be won in August. It's going to be won sometime in September.
By the end of July, though, it was the Red Sox who had used the summer to heat up, with the team reborn under the leadership of new manager Joe Morgan.
Ball drive! Ball game's over! Kevin Romine has won it! 7-6 Boston!
I remember telling the club that maybe we can't win this thing, but certainly we can creep up the ladder.
And the Red Sox win their 5th in a row since the All-Star break and under Joe Morgan.
Under the Walpole, Massachusetts native and former Boston College star, the Sox were simply a different team.
They've got 10 in a row.
Boston's run was propelled by its offense, at the center of which was the incomparable Wade Boggs.
Boggsy, in '88, is one of the best hitters in baseball.
Watch him go with the pitch. He was going that way all along.
No matter if it was the 15th inning or 2 hours after a rain delay, this guy did not give at bats away.
And Boggs made hitting history in 1988 as well.
Wade Boggs has done it. 200 hits for 6 straight years.
What a feeling of accomplishment that has to be.
A few slots down in the batting order was Boston's RBI machine, Mike Greenwell.
High in the air, deep to right center field, and gone, a home run.
That's the type of hitter I am. I like to be under the gun, as they say, or have the pressure on you, and there's no better spot in the lineup than be the number 4 hitter.
It was a career year for Greenwell, and his 23 game-winning RBIs in '88 set the AL standard for the decade.
Fly ball belted deep to right. He's to the wall. Fly away.
We need to keep the momentum, and it's a good feeling to help your team win.
But even as Boston became baseball's hottest team, their rotation sprung a leak when Oil Can Boyd went down with an injury.
Boyd is questionable because of the physical status of him and because of his health being in jeopardy. We decided we had to get a pitcher.
And Joe Morgan has a new pitcher to replace Oil Can Boyd. The Red Sox have just acquired Mike Boddicker.
It's the only time I ever cried in baseball because I love Baltimore. I really did.
But after being part of an 0-21 start in Baltimore, Boddicker debuted at Fenway in the midst of an historic win streak. Boddicker was stifling in his first start for the Sox, going 7 1/3 and striking out 6.
Strike 3.
I came in and I contributed to keeping the streak alive.
That streak just continued to climb, and on August 12th, the team had a chance to make history at home.
Little looper. Benzinger is under it. A new American League record, 23 straight wins at home.
The run ultimately stretched to 24 games before the first-place Tigers finally ended the historic streak.
The Detroit Tigers sitting atop the heat in the American League, leading Boston by 3 and the Yankees by 4.
But Detroit struggled through August and ceded the top spot in the East on September 5th.
Strike 3. The game is over. The Red Sox are in first place.
They called it Morgan's Magic, the run that gave the Sox the AL East title. Though the most division drama in the season's final week came from Toronto's Dave Stieb, who made a dramatic run at history not once, but twice.
Almost every time out, it was like, this may be Steve's night where he throws a no-hitter.
And sure enough, on September 24th in Cleveland, Steve was 1 out away from his first career no-no.
A swing and a bouncer to second. Big hop over the head of Lee at the right center.
I made my pitch, so I did what I set out to do, and that was just the bad luck of the game there.
And as luck would have it, Steve incredibly got 1 out away again at home, just 6 nights later.
A swing and a shot down the right field line at the base hit. And there goes another no-hit bid for Dave Steve.
I looked at it as I felt just fortunate to get that far, and I got the one-hitters, and that was second best, and that's what I had to settle for.
In 1988, expectations were sky high for the Mets and star slugger Darryl Strawberry.
Strawberry had 39 home runs, a member of the 30-30 club, 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases.
To have his body, to be able to run, hit for that kind of power, he knew that it was time for him to kind of take over.
And in 88, the straw man had 21 home runs and 55 RBIs at the All-Star break. Numbers that put him in his 5th straight Midsummer Classic.
That year, I think I was, a force in the league and really played well that year.
If he stays healthy, that could be the most valuable player in the National League here in 1988.
Strawberry was certainly the Mets' most valuable piece, leading them to 100 wins and a second NL East title in 3 seasons.
I'm not going to worry about any personal goals right now. I'm going to worry about the New York Mets trying to win the World Championship.
Strawberry's 39 homers led the NL, while in the AL, another outfielder was bidding for history.
Jose Canseco was coming along in Oakland at that time and was going to try to take it to 40-40.
Swing and a deep drive. Canseco breaking for third. Swing and a miss. The throw is saved under the tag.
With 24 first-half homers and 22 stolen bases, Canseco had an unprecedented 40-40 season in his sights.
Basically, I thought if I just stay consistent, use my ability, and didn't go into any slumps, I can make the 40-40 club. And 3/4 during the season, I'm on pace for it.
And there she goes! Number 40 for Jose Canseco.
5 days later, Canseco stole his way into the record books.
He's running. There's the throw. Number 40. Jose Canseco, the first man ever in big league history to do it. This big guy is having that MVP kind of year.
And Canseco was the centerpiece of an Oakland team that won a Major League best 104 games.
And Oakland wins the American League West.
While the A's tallied their most wins since the franchise had moved to Oakland, in Cincinnati, Tom Browning aimed for his own piece of history on a Friday night in mid-September.
Tom Browning was a guy that you loved to play behind because he got the ball, he looked at the sign, he threw the pitch.
Swing and a miss, and Browning has his second strikeout.
And after he got into a groove, we had a lot of problems.
And has pitched 5 innings of not only no-hit ball, but perfect ball tonight.
The Reds' offense would get a run across in the 6th, and from there, it only got more frustrating for the visitors.
21 straight for Tom Browning.
Then it started sinking in. Hey, there might be something going on here.
Tom Browning enters the 9th, having retired 24 in a row.
Boy, that was the toughest, trying to keep everything inside because you're just scared to death.
He got 2 quick outs in the 9th, and then found himself 1 pitch away from perfection.
And here it comes, and it is swung out and missed. Tom Browning has pitched a perfect game, the first of the Cincinnati Reds franchise.
We all go down the bottom of the pile, and guys are piling on, and then they lift you up.
Now Browning being hoisted to the shoulders of his teammates.
It was just a day where everything worked out perfect, and so was I.
And true to form, he took just 1 hour and 51 minutes to do it.
And brother, was the wait worthwhile.
While the Dodgers were being victimized by perfection, their ace spent the stretch run defying opponents with his own remarkable stretch of flawlessness.
This is a guy that year who presented himself with such great confidence when he took the mound. You really felt good when you were on his team that you had better than an average chance to win the game that day.
On August 30th, Hershiser gave up 2 runs in the 5th inning of a complete game win in Montreal.
And a one-hopper to Stubbs, and Orel Hershiser has won his 18th.
And then went from great to historic.
He just was so consistent, being able to deliver pitches in and out the way he can with a great sink.
Sets and delivers, strike 3, and he's done it.
He was really as dominant as a pitcher could be.
And in September, Hershiser was never better.
He has a string of 40 consecutive scoreless innings
I really believe it doesn't always relate to results as much as it relates to what you need to do mentally and what you need to do physically to accomplish what your goal is.
When the streak hit 50, Hershiser was just 9 innings away from breaking Dodger great Don Drysdale's all-time mark, set in 1968.
I've said all along that it's certainly approachable, but it's going to take somebody that's in his class to do it.
And he was able to finish the job in San Diego when his last start went into extra innings.
Fly ball to right on a semi-check swing. Gonzalez, the record. 59 consecutive innings scoreless. The all-time record. There's Drysdale, whose record he just broke.
My congratulations to a great guy. They call him the Bulldog here, and I think all of you have been able to witness that and see why, and at least we kept it in the family.
And the Dodger family was also happy that Hershiser's sensational season and streak had propelled them into the postseason.
Congratulations to him. What a great job.
The Mets dominated the Dodgers in the 1988 regular season, winning 10 of 11 games, and their confidence was sky high heading into their playoff series.
Well, we had all the confidence in the world facing the Dodgers. We pretty much thought we could handle them pretty well. Their offense wasn't tremendous, and we just thought we were the better ball club by far.
But L.A. had a different perspective.
You know, we felt pretty good about our chances against New York. We were heavy underdogs against them, and we kind of felt like they were a little bit cocky and a little bit too sure of themselves, maybe looking past us.
We've earned the right to be there. They've earned the right to be there. We're both going to start 0-0. Let's just go play.
This series might have shaped up to many as a mismatch, but the Dodgers did have a huge weapon on their side in Game 1. Orel Hershiser.
As he had done his previous 59 innings, Hershiser held the Mets scoreless into the ninth.
But the Mets finally got a run to cut the Dodger lead to 2-1, and L.A. went to the bullpen.
The one play I don't really talk about a lot, I missed the fly ball in the first game.
Shelby coming on, dives, cannot come up with it. Strawberry scores. Here comes McReynolds to the plate. He will score in a collision with Socha. And the Mets lead 3-2.
It was a very, very tough loss for us. But, as I told our players, that's the best of 7, which means you have to win 4. They've only won 1. So we bounced back tonight, and we're even with them.
But to do that, L.A. would have to beat 20-game winner David Cone with rookie Tim Belcher.
We're down 0-1 in the 7-game series, and we're putting a rookie out there. So, yeah, it probably was the biggest game of my career.
And the Dodgers helped him by jumping on Cone early. For his part, Belcher pitched into the 9th, and L.A. cruised to the 6-3 win.
High fly ball toward the line. Marshall is there. The series is tied.
That ride home from L.A. after Game 2 was a pretty bitter pill to swallow for us as a team.
Back in New York, the clubs were greeted by rain, which postponed Game 3, allowing Hershiser to come back on short rest, albeit in brutal conditions.
The steady rain and bone-chilling cold didn't exactly make for quality baseball. Even Orel Hershiser needed help.
Slices one to left. Gibson coming to the line, dives, and makes a catch as he was falling down.
Ultimately, the climate could not hinder the Mets offense, which put up 5 runs in the 8th en route to an 8-4 victory. And in Game 4, the Mets' big bats were strong again.
To deep right. And gone. Put a clock on that baby leaving the park. To deep left center field. Gibson going all the way back, and this one's gone. Back-to-back shots.
Behind Dwight Gooden, the Mets took a 4-2 lead through 8.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging.
Davey and I both decided to stay with Doc. Doc was still throwing very well.
Ball 4. Shelby walks. Socha at the plate. That's ripped to right field and deep. Strawberry goes back. She's gone. Mike Socha the biggest of his career.
You would never think that he would come up and hit a crucial, two-run home run in that ball game. I think it just shifted the momentum to the Dodgers.
Momentum the Dodgers would carry into the 12th.
Gibson hits a high drive, a towering drive to deep right center field, and that one is gone.
That home run set in motion another surprising twist.
It got to be 2 out, bases loaded, McReynolds up, and Lasorda brought me in the game.
This is a scenario that couldn't have been imagined.
I thought, what are they doing with this guy? He can't pitch out of the bullpen. He just pitched a complete game the day before.
When you write the story of this game, where in the world do you begin?
It is so much fun to do the unexpected.
And the unexpected continued in Game 5 as the Dodgers roughed up Sid Fernandez, coasting to a win and a 3-2 series lead.
Ripped down the line in left field, bouncing into the corner. Marshall comes in to score. A 2-run double by Dempsey.
Once we won those games in New York, we felt like we could clinch it back in L.A.
But at Chavez Ravine, David Cone was set on rebounding from his Game 2 disappointment.
And down goes he.
He had that mound presence where he always felt confident, and he always felt like he was going to make the big pitch.
Here comes McReynolds, and tomorrow night these two teams play one game for the pennant.
That was huge. Pitched 9 innings and shut him down, and that was a huge game for me at that point.
The way this series has been played, it's only poetic justice that it comes to Game 7.
Game 7 is one game for the pennant. It's a season compressed into one night.
The drama ended quickly, with the Dodgers scoring 6 runs before they made even 6 outs. And with the Bulldog as tremendous as ever, L.A. cruised to a shutout and the World Series.
Hershiser was dominating. I guess it was just meant to be for the Dodgers that year.
The 1988 ALCS would start at historic Fenway Park.
Red Sox all the way.
Fans might have been excited, but there was a cloud hanging over a Boston club that had lost 6 of its last 7 regular season games.
We came from 9 games out and played great baseball the second half of the season, and now people are slighting our ability as a team and saying we're backing into things. You don't back into something when you win it.
Meanwhile, the visiting A's, winners of 104 games, were as loose and confident as could be.
Give me that ball back!
I think with our ball club, I think we're going to rely a lot on power, and the way our pitching's done so well this year, I think we're going to have a slight advantage over the Boston Red Sox.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. Goodbye.
And so the series got going at Fenway, with fans still high on the manager who'd turned their season around. And it didn't take long for the action to heat up in the form of a second inning, bases-loaded marquee matchup between a 21-game winner and the AL batting champ.
1-2 pitch. He got it by him. He struck him out. What a jam to get out of.
Game 1 ended up being a pitcher's duel. But like so many other times in the regular season, one big Oakland bat made a big difference.
This is the worst bat, quality bat. This is what I use.
He could beat you in a number of ways, and it was always dynamic, when he did do it.
Left field, that ball going back, and the ball is out of here.
The A's took a 2-1 lead into the ninth, and then against Dennis Eckersley, the Sox got the tying run on second for Boggs.
Dennis Eckersley gets out of a big jam, and the Oakland A's have taken a 1-game-to-none lead in the American League Championship Series.
The Sox looked to rebound in Game 2 with their ace on the mound, though Roger Clemens would need his very best stuff against the very best of the Oakland lineup. Mark McGwire was just one early victim. Clemens wasn't perfect, but he left after 7 with the game tied at 3. Then in the ninth, the least experienced athletic in the lineup, shortstop Walt Weiss, had a chance to put the A's ahead.
It is an all-even game in the top half of the ninth inning. 2 down, runners at first and third. Weiss
facing Lee Smith.
It was a situation where I'm sure Tony thought about pinch hitting for me.
Center field and hustling in as Burks.
Fortunately, I came through.
Passy will score the go-ahead run.
That was one of the bigger hits in my career for sure.
Then, once again, it was Dennis Eckersley's job to close the door on the Sox.
Going back is Phillips on the warning track, and the Oakland A's take a 2-0 lead in this American League Championship Series.
I'm just glad we came in here. We're hoping to take one. We take two. I'm frazzled, and let's get out of town, you know?
Sure enough, the A's packed their bags and headed home happy. But in Game 3 in Oakland, the home team found itself down early, thanks in big part to MVP candidate Mike Greenwell, who doubled in 2 runs in the first and then came up again in the second.
Greenwell hits it deep to right. Canseco turns, watches, it's out of here.
The Red Sox gave Mike Boddicker a 5-0 lead in the second, but he couldn't hold it.
It was one of those days. I stunk. No matter what I did, I could not get it right.
The A's pounded out 10 runs on 15 hits, and then again called on Eckersley to close it. The next day, Oakland stayed right on target as Canseco got things started in his first at-bat.
Canseco, right center field, ball is well hit, way back, it's out of here.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that could carry the team on his back, and he did it in that ALCS.
Overall, Canseco hit 3 home runs in the series, though it was Eckersley who earned MVP honors, with saves in all 4 games of a sweep that carried Oakland to the Fall Classic.
Back goes Gallego, and the Oakland A's have won the American League pennant.
14 years, and this is my first time going to the World Series, and I get the MVP as well. I'll take it. It's a nice feeling.
From the Oakland A's perspective, the 1988 World Series appeared to be less a contest than a coronation.
We just had a powerful lineup and real good pitching. Good starting pitching, good relief pitching. And we just had the whole mix, and we had it going on. So we were supposed to kill the Dodgers because the Dodgers really didn't match up.
You know, just give us the trophy now, I think is what we were thinking.
Batting third, number 33, right fielder, Canseco.
But the series had all kinds of Hollywood ingredients, a powerful villain on the field, and comic relief in the stands.
If there were a movie that would like sum up this year, what would it be?
Annoying. A season that, let me put it this way, if Walt Disney was alive, he wouldn't believe the Dodgers were here.
The Dodgers might have been the only ones believing in themselves and took an early lead in Game 1. But then Canseco came up with the bases loaded in the second.
And there's a drive to center. Back goes Shelby to the wall. It is gone. Grand slam home run for Jose Canseco.
So Canseco had played his part. But the Dodgers had an injured slugger who wasn't going to give up on anything.
Vin Scully, who knows the Dodgers well because he's their announcer during the regular season, he flatly states that Gibson is not available.
The man who was the spearhead of the Dodger offense throughout the year will not see any action tonight for sure.
And Gibson, having heard Vin Scully say that he's not available, says to Lasorda,
I think I could hit for you. I said, great. And I just ran out. I didn't give him time to say anything else for fear that he might change his mind.
I had programmed myself to say, when you walk out of the dugout, 50,000 people are going to go nuts, and you won't hurt.
And look who's coming up.
It was awesome looking back. If I was a Dodger fan, I would have been, here comes Kirk.
Look at his crowd on his feet. What a tribute.
He needed a long time to get there, so it was driving me nuts. It's like, get this guy up here. He's the last out. Let's get this thing over with.
So the Dodgers trying to catch lightning right now.
I got up 0-2 on him in a heartbeat because he couldn't catch up with the fastball.
Fouled away.
Eckersley wasn't going to send me in to get wild card. He didn't take it easy on me because I was hurt, and I didn't expect him to.
We went over it before the game. Gibson's name came up last because we didn't even think he was going to play. But anyway, we did go over him, and we said, don't throw him any breaking balls. I remember that.
Before the 3-2 pitch, I stepped out of the box and said to myself, partner, as sure as I'm standing here breathing, you're going to throw me that 3-2 backdoor slider, aren't you?
It was indeed hard to believe. But the Dodgers had stolen Game 1 and now had their red-hot ace on the mound for Game 2.
Game 2 of the '88 World Series was like a childhood dream come true. I get 3 hits.
The run scores on a double by Orel Hershiser.
I throw a shutout. Unbelievable.
Got it.
It was unbelievable. It was the best game ever.
But A's fans were defiant as the series shifted north to Oakland. And in the bottom of the 9th of Game 3, Mark McGwire came up with the score tied at 1 and a big momentum shift on the table.
High drive up the alley in left center field, and this one is going to be gone. Home run, McGwire. And the kid from Southern California breathes life into Northern California.
But the next night, it was the Dodgers' turn to edge the A's. Tommy Lasorda's club had a 3-1 series lead, setting up Hershiser for his last mission.
It's the responsibility of what has happened prior and what people expect now out of you, and I'm responsible.
In Game 5, Hershiser was responsible for a complete Game 4 hitter, a fitting end to one of the most remarkable runs of pitching ever.
3-2 to Tony Phillips. 5-2 Dodgers in the 9th. Got it. They've done it. It's the impossible dream revisited.
And while the Dodgers mobbed Hershiser on the mound, Canseco was left to ponder how David had slain Goliath.
Too confident, I think. That's where I really blame myself as a manager. I've said it many times. I think Tom Lasorda did a much better job of getting his team ready. They were the underdog.
Nobody thought we could win the division. Nobody thought we could beat the Mighty Mets. Nobody thought we could beat the team who won 104 games. Nobody believes it.
For the Athletics, disappointment in October 1988 was swept away a year later when the A's won all 4 games against the Giants in a Bay Area Fall Classic.
Off McGwire's glove, Phillips has it, throws accurately in time, and the A's have won the World Series in a sweep.
And in a year when relief legends Bruce Sutter and Goose Gossage each notched their 300th saves, the emergence of Dennis Eckersley further revolutionized the closer position for years to come, as a long line of super stoppers would soon emerge, even if 1988 would ultimately be most remembered for a Hollywood ending.